Okay, hello once again, and I'm under my little temporary canopy here. Today what the plan is I've already taken off the covers that go over the distributor cap and wires and coil and all that fun stuff. And there's two covers that go down the sides and cover the wires here. It seems to me there should be some rubber, kind of a grommet or something right in there would be smart, to avoid rubbing through the wires. So I've already rebuilt the carburetor, and today the plan is to pull these valve covers off and replace the gaskets, and then put the valve covers back on. So that is what I am up to. As I go, I'm checking other stuff. I don't know if I need to pull this out of the way. Probably do. Probably going to have to loosen up the alternator and the good old AC compressor over there. So those will be tasks on my list. Also, I've got new plugs and wires that I intend to put on probably this weekend also, and we'll be back in a little bit. Alright, so I've got the driver's side valve cover off, and just want to take a look at the valves. Everything looks good. They all have oil on them. That's awesome. And it's very clean. There's a little bit of grunge right there. That's probably just accumulation. Let's see what that stuff looks like. Yeah, that's pretty much part of that for now. Okay, and then what we see here is I've actually this is the bottom edge of the gasket right here, and so when I pulled it off, I lifted it up and flipped it this way. So what you can see is there's a lot of oil leakage, especially around this area here. So if I do this, you can see, let's use it. Oops. It's hard to do this and film it at the same time. Okay, so this area right here is where it's leaking all along this side. So if I run my finger along that, you can see all that fresh oil. And then here it looks like this gasket's pretty much burnt. So that happens because this is the bottom edge of the gasket here that runs along this this guy here, this heat shield. And it looks like somebody used some sort of RTV. So my next step on this is to cover that up so it doesn't get dust and dirt in it, and then to get this out of there and really clean that up and get all the oil off of that. And then I have to get all the oil off of the surrounding area there so that it's all totally dry. Not inside the wells here, but just around the perimeter where the gasket will go. That way we'll have no oil seepage to start with, because any oil in between the gasket and the metal components will cause an easy seeping spot. Okay, so come back after we do one or another of these things. Okay, so here's something interesting. As you can see, this cork is all complete. Right, this is our passenger side. I'll tell you what though, this crap, the shit that the guy used to get this to stick to the valve cover, holy shit. This stuff is like so hard to get off. It's some sort of a contact cement, I think. Alright, so we're on the passenger side over here, and everything is looking good. We've got oil on all of the rockers, which is good. You might notice this There should be no valve lash in any of these. Twisty is fine, but any vertical lash is not. But see this? That is really bad. So I got some adjustments to do, but not only is that bad, look at this shit. Okay, so I first noticed this little chunk of debris right here, and if I pull that out, you can see that this is actually a piece of the old gasket just sitting there. And well, what do we have right there? Look at that. Okay, so we've got another piece of old gasket just sitting in there. And what's all this? That's more old gasket. So that's not good. There's little bits and pieces of gasket material all over this side of the head. So I'm gonna go through and make sure I find all that. The problem with that is that those chunks can break down just enough to get down through the oil valleys and piping through the engine. They can get caught up in there and clog it up so that you don't get full oil to your heads and to your valves. I feel like I should probably check. These are the head bolts right here. I should probably test those for torque and make sure they're torqued, but I really don't want to fuck with that, actually. Pardon my French. You can see here's one of the spots where this was leaking, and oil would seep out right here and then burn on top of the engine. And that would also mix with leaking gas. And then down, may not be easy to see, but right there where it's all black and wet looking, it's been leaking out the center. So I got a lot of work to do still, and we'll come back after that. Here's a little before and after. This is before. As you can see, it's the nasty old cork. It's not even soft anymore. It's, well, barely soft. It'll pretty much come right apart. Whichever side was the intake or the exhaust side will be even worse. If we look at the tops, you can see where it's kind of dark right here. See how it's kind of corky looking here? But then here it's really dark. That's because the oil's been seeping through there and leaking out. I think that's the top center section. Although this side looks pretty nasty too, so it doesn't matter really which side is the top or bottom. I could tell you though. Yeah. Anyways, whatever, it doesn't matter. This valve cover I have cleaned. I don't want to touch it because my hands are oily right now. But that is the new Felpro solid steel core gasket, which is all rubberized. And I don't think that's gonna, there we go. So it's got a nice channel kind of design to it. And that's going to be a lot better, and it's got these little bushings inside that prevent you from over tightening it, which is really nice too. And these have unfortunately these valve covers are just 4 bolts each, so 1, 2, 3, and 4, which makes these corners kind of tend to leak quite a bit, and because of that, people often over torque the bolts, and what that has the effect of doing is bending. I don't think any of these are bent. These look good, but it has the effect of bending this piece of metal up inward, and then then this line, the line from here all the way across is not perfectly straight and flat, and then you get leaks around these areas, and then this side lifts while this side's pushed down, and so you get this weird lifting. So if you push both these in, then both these corners are going to tend to want to lift up, and that's when you get leaky valve covers. These are more of a street racing type of a gasket. They're designed to not need any kind of sealers. or sticky glues or anything to get them in place. In fact, shoot, well, they're here. I'll just lift it here. As you can see, it's pretty much solid. It's like one. If you lift it up, it stays pretty much flat. Unlike a cork one, which if you lift up one end, it'll just go boop and it'll droop. So anyway, that's where I'm at on these. I'm gonna clean this one up, grind this or wire brush all this shit off of there, make it nice and clean like this one, and go do some valve cover or valve adjustments next. So that's gonna be fun. I gotta go pull the spark plugs out first though. Ugh. There's my helper. There's my helper, Shasta Bear. Hello. How's it going? She doesn't like being on camera. She's like, what the fuck, dude? Don't film me. Alright, so did the second one of these, and just so you can see what these look like. As you can see, they don't really flex. Oops, but I don't want to do that because I think I just put a slight bend in this one. Yeah, take a look at my nasty ass kitchen. Alright, so there we go. Those are done and ready. Now, just a slight departure here. I actually roasted up some fresh coffee yesterday and have had some coffee for the first time in shit, I don't know. Oh, yeah, don't look at this over here. For the first time in a long time. So there's my bestie. Oh, shit. Okay, so now what we have here is all of our spark plugs, and as you can see, these two are really oily. That is because those gaskets leaked down the center, and they happen to drip closer to those two. And in fact, that one right there, I ended up breaking it off, so it's not even stuck down in the box. This one got oil in it as well, and it is really nasty. This car does not burn oil though, so I don't believe it needs rings or anything. But as you can see, ugh, that is foul. These are not in the best of shape, so it's a good thing I'm putting new ones in. I do not know what's up with that. Anyway, that's the spark plugs. Now it's on to adjusting the valves. Alright, so one of the important things about an engine is these valves. So for each cylinder, there's two of them. One valve sticks up, the stem of each valve sticks up through these springs, these valve springs, and they basically rest right under these rockers on the top. And underneath these bolts, actually these bolts are the pivot point bolts here. Underneath this end, as you can see right there, there's the rods. So if you ever hear somebody saying, oh, my engine threw a rod, that's because one of these got too loose and that rod went right down through the engine and blasted through it like a bullet, pretty much. So I've gone and cleaned out some of the crap out of there. This is weird. You can see how it's darker in the center there. I don't know what the situation is with that. I'm hoping that there's not a lack of oil flowing right here causing a heating kind of issue. It's sort of strange. I can't see, but oh, that's a bolt. Okay. I should probably go through with a flashlight and pick out any pieces of debris I can find. So no matter where the engine is in its rotation, these rockers on the top need to be not loose, basically. So this direction of looseness, left and right, is fine. It's a vertical lash that's not what you want. So these are pretty much all okay, it seems like. Some are going to be tight, like this one is extremely tight, and then some will be loose because the lifter underneath the rod is down at its lowest point, and that's pushed up and down by the camshaft. And that's basically how your valve timing is set, is with that camshaft. It's got offset lobes down in there and pushes these up. So on this side, ooh, yeah. Okay, hear that? That's a loose valve right there. So I'm guessing that there's probably gonna be, whoops, quite a few of those that are gonna be slightly loose. Let's pull this off on this side and see what we got. Oh, that one's way too loose. So that's on the, yeah, that's just not good at all. So this engine was rebuilt oh, there's another one. Yeah, this engine was rebuilt in 1991 or 93, I can't remember now. And it's got about 30 to 40,000 miles on it. But she runs really well. And she's going to run so much better now with new plugs, wires, ignition, and all that good stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and start tightening these guys up, and it's going to be a tricky thing. I haven't done this in a long time. Basically, I go through, tighten them all up, then I'm going to rotate the engine a quarter turn, tighten them all up if there's, you know, just to get the lash out of them. Lash is the up-down kind of movement where you can hear it. So I get the lash out of them, and then I'll do that. I'll rotate the engine probably 8 to 12 times and just check them all. And then after that, I will rotate them all 1/2 turn extra to give them some preload, and we'll be done doing that, and I can clean up the surrounds better, wire brush those and stuff. We'll get that all cleaned up and put the head or the valve covers on, and then we'll put the new ignition parts in, and she should be ready to rock. I really might just replace this manifold. It's kind of gross, and I don't know if it's probably leaking, you know, but if I'm going to go that far, I'm going to have to just rebuild this sucker, and I don't really want to do that. I mean, it's not too big of a task to pull that manifold off, but you have to pull the entire distributor out and all the stuff off the top and the whole, you know, it's just like shit ton of work. That right there with the weird inset nut on top is the water pump. So I have a new one of those that I'll be replacing that. And getting rid of that nasty ass ugly fan that's just trashed pretty much. And I've got a beautiful new radiator and electric fans to put in there, so it's gonna be great. Alright, so next video should be post setting these guys. Okay, so just ignore all the crap on the table here. I have restored, perhaps. This is the air intake, air cleaner assembly, whatever you want to call it. I put new hoses on there. I took the whole thing apart. Blah, blah, blah. Cleaned that. The air filter was already in good shape. I pulled this. This is a temperature sensor that connects to this vacuum hose, which goes to the carburetor. And when this gets to a certain temperature, this is a switch. So basically, there's an existing vacuum on this line. Then this goes under here, And there it is. So there's 2 pipes right there, and then the second one goes oops, to this vacuum gauge here, which does actually work. And then when that actuates, this flap will close. It's kind of hard to do that from here. I could put some suction on this, well, probably this hose here, and show you how that works, but you'll just have to trust me. And what that does is there's a vent there that I need to untape still, but that vent has warm air coming up from the engine. This thing was all bent up, and that flap wouldn't even really close off much of the gas, or the hot air, I should say. So yeah, this thing's not in perfect shape. It's got some spots on it that look funny. Pretty sure it's aftermarket. Still has a good foam around the perimeter though, so I like it. It looks pretty good. This engine's gonna look really good once I'm all done. So if I could take the engine out and do what I just, if I could take the engine out and do what I did with all this, then it would be incredibly clean and leak proof too, which I would do if I had a garage, but I don't have one. So this is what I am gonna do. I'm just making it to where I can drive it. So I want to have fun driving this car. Woo! So anyway, Corvette air cleaner. All right, so day 2. I've got all the wires hooked up. There's the new Davis unified ignition, and all the plug wires are routed down there. I still have yet to put the chrome covers and guides back on, because I just want to fire it up once before I do that to make sure everything's working right. I flipped these guys over, these things here, because they have about 1/8 of an inch of a bump, and I realized that since this valve cover gasket has a it has over tightening bushings in there, so I don't think those were even getting tightened down all the way, so I flipped them around, and that makes more sense to me. Unfortunately, the ones underneath there on the bottom right here, you can see they don't, the big ones don't fit down there, so I have to use the small ones. But I've got alternators back in place, not putting the AC compressor back in. I cut some hose to kind of make this softer instead of it riding in a steel thing. Air cleaner's all done. It is hot as fuck out here, so I'm sort of scared to fire it up because I adjusted the valves and everything. So let's get our power back on and fire this sucker up and hope that it doesn't fucking explode. So much better than it did before. Definitely need to check the timing and gotta check the timing and all enough for now. I'm happy with that. And I'm going to disconnect my battery. I like to be able to do that. That's nice. All right, well, valves adjusted, gaskets on. Hopefully they're not leaking. Definitely needs an adjustment now, so we'll see what's next. And that's Corvette City for this day, anyway. I'll come back with more. I got my power steering rebuild kit, and that is just basically has emptied itself of fluid since I got it home, so I gotta do that next. And while I'm doing that, I'm gonna change the steering rag joint knuckle thing. So this is kind of cool to pull that lever down and the steering wheel comes down, and then if you want it to telescope, you undo this ring right here and the wheel comes in and out like that. I like it farther away though. This is such a rad car. I fucking love this car. It is so badass. I'm gonna drive it and enjoy it. And then when I'm too old to do anything else, I guess, I will hopefully have a garage by then, and I will park it in there and I will frame off, restore it, and sell it or something. Maybe at that point, I don't know. Alright, so that's that for today. Bye. Okay, so it turned out that I'd forgotten to attach one of the vacuum hoses, this one, and she seems to be running really smooth now. Makeshift lean-to. All right. Sweet. So I don't know if you could hear me, but I had forgotten to attach I think it's the primary vacuum that goes to the headlamps system. So yeah, anyway, got this guy back on, this little doo-wopper thing of a jig, and I guess that would be a air intake connector. So got a lot of work left to do. I still need to put the guides and the chrome on top of that, and then yes, I am using baling wire over there. I don't always use that. That's only temporary because I'm going to replace that tank right there and its cap, and the radiator's coming out, that fan is all coming out, that shroud and the fan itself will come out, and I will next up is the power steering. So this is the power steering pump, which actually looks pretty new. I don't know if you can see it under here. There's a bunch of greasy, oily, nasty shit up under there. Well, that's all power steering stuff. So if you're ever wondering how these lights work, they have a bunch of vacuum tubing that comes up under here, and these are vacuum diaphragms inside there, and those are actually vacuum actuators. So when the vacuum gets sucked to that, then the lights will lift up. It's pretty rad design. All right, that's enough of that for this weekend, at least for now. Tomorrow I might actually start on the power steering. I don't know. So I'm pretty spent though.